universe tends to bend, and make these great connections. And that's why I love Dr. Worcester, this show. We've got April Knight, the president of the National Association of Elementary School Principals. Is this correct?
That is correct.
What a huge job. But she wasn't always, right? She wasn't always the president of NAESP. I met
Yeah.
April when she was representing like the region where I guess I was serving. Eric, I guess it would have been
Yeah.
your area too. A couple years ago, which probably seems like 30 years ago, but what was it,
Two-
2019?
Yeah, 2019 through 2022, I was the Zone 3 director, and that
Zone
was
3.
for Ohio, Virginia, West Virginia, Maryland, and DC area.
Oh, it's so fascinating. And when I met you, April, I was just like, what a great leader. Like, her school is lucky to have her. This association is lucky to have her. Big things are going to happen. And look what happens. The president of the NAESP. Man, that's great. Well, thank you for joining us, April. We really, really appreciate it.
April, you're big time. So before you became president of NAESP, tell us about your path before then. So what got you into education? What moved you into being a leader?
I got into education because I had some remarkable teachers and one or two principals that just kind of stood out. And their focus was on making a difference. And that was something that I was interested in doing and wanting to do. I actually began studying Spanish and international business and was just not feeling that was the thing for me. And I always loved kids, loved being the babysitter, playing school, all of that stuff. So I returned to the path of education and became a teacher and served as a teacher for 11 years. Also during that time, I was we had a curriculum facilitator, a literacy facilitator, and those were the opportunities where I was working more with staff. And that's when I really got the bug for leadership, because I just really enjoyed working with the staff to help them better themselves in order to serve the students. So that kind of kicked it off, and away we went.
That's outstanding. And then, then you get into a representative of the NAESP, and so I'm curious, how you kind of like gravitated towards that because listen, principals are busy. Like it's like, so busy.
Yeah.
I ain't got time for another meeting. I ain't got time for another conference or whatever.
Right.
So how did you gravitate towards that?
So it actually started within my own district. So I have served, this would be year 35 in Columbus City schools. And Columbus City is the largest district in the state of Ohio. And we had an association called the Columbus Administrators Association. And I was kind of recruited to come on board as the sunshine chair. So my job was to, kind of motivate and help and, that kind of thing. So
that's not my job. I couldn't do that. I couldn't do that.
But it led me to opportunities where I did have that voice and I was able to represent our administrators. Then becoming president of that association for like 5 years. And from there, it transpired into my state association, the Ohio Association of Elementary School Administrators. And I served on their board of directors for 5+ years. And at that point, I really became interested in NAESP. I'd been a member, but trying to find out what did it mean for administrators across the country. And there was an opportunity at that time to become the Zone 3 director. And so that's kind of how I stepped into that role. And once I became that, it just really was a remarkable experience. And at the end of my 3-year term, I wasn't really ready to give it up. And I did run for vice president in 2022, did not get elected, but I wasn't deterred. I ran again in 2023 and was elected to the 3-year term. So I served as vice president from 23-24, last year as president-elect, and then this year I'm very honored to be the president.
Man.
April, I am sure that most of our audience is aware of NAESP. For those who might not be aware of what NAESP is or what it does, can you talk to our audience? What is it and how does it support leaders?
Sure. National Association of Elementary School Principals, also serving middle level principals. We are an association that represents leaders from pre-K through 8th grade. And we have a great deal of opportunities for professional learning. We have advocacy opportunities. We have our recognition program, like Nathaniel was our NDP from Virginia back then.
Congratulations, Nathaniel.
That's right. Represent
Big time.
Virginia.
That's
Represent
right.
Virginia.
We have our communications team. So we have lots of different components of the association, and it's all just designed to kind of amplify the voices of those school leaders. We want to make sure we're advocating for resources and policies and support what they need in order to keep their school communities thriving. So there are over 16,000 active members across the country.
Wow.
Great. Thank you.
That's great. So April, we only ask hard-hitting questions here on the
Okay.
Community Connection. So this is like, you think Tom Brokaw or 60 Minutes, but like Worcester and Provincia, we're going to ask some hard-hitting questions, right?
All right.
So like, okay, when you advocate, right? Because like this education is an interesting time, right? It's an interesting time in American education.
Yes.
All right, what's going right and what's going wrong?
So some top issues that that principals and leaders across the country are dealing with, obviously, are mental health, social emotional learning, and that's for not just students, but it's also for staff. It's also for administrators. So that's an area that we are front and center working towards. Right now, educator shortages are unbelievable.
Mm,
And that can be teacher educators, it can be administrators, it can be district level. So we're working to develop these pipelines, and my goal is to be looking at pre-service opportunities, because we just have people that are teaching these college courses, and it's been a while since they've been in the classroom or running a building and stuff. So educator shortage is another area. We realize as of late, school safety continues to be a major concern.
mm,
And we want to just do what we can to provide opportunities for our leaders to grow professionally, but to also have that opportunity to help their staff grow. So those are things that we're working towards supporting. Things that are going great are the fact that our administrators across the country really are working to create this sense of belonging
mm.
for their students and for their staff and for their families, building on this foundation of success, both socially, emotionally, but also academically. And there's great growth that's taking place. And it's something that we really need to celebrate and share, because public education is getting kind of a bad rap right now.
Yeah, it is getting I mean, I think that in a sense, it's sort of always sort of like um, been a challenge. But here's what annoys me, and as a proud public school servant, is that sometimes like we're not helping our profession. Like I go on social media, I listen to conversations, I hear the most disparaging thing about principals. I hear principals that have very popular like websites and like social media accounts that espouse bad malpractice. And like
Mhm.
it's very interesting. Like if we honor the profession that makes all professions possible, and I say this a million
Yes,
times,
absolutely.
it's like we're not helping ourselves.
Yeah.
And it's like we need to hold first and foremost, how can we ask, someone who's never served in public schools, someone who or a politician who never doesn't even send their kids to public schools to
Mhm.
advocate for public schools when we're not advocating for ourselves in our profession like we
Well,
could. I don't know. That's just my editorial opinion. April,
no,
what are your thoughts?
you are spot on with that. And I think that's one of the reasons we have a dynamic advocacy leader in the NAESP, David Griffith, who is frequently on the Hill getting that message across, working to ensure that appropriate policies are being put in place and those that are causing more damage and harm are being shifted away. And we do what we call our advocacy conference in February, March. And at that time, our state representatives from all of our state affiliates, our federal relations coordinators that each state has, and the executive board for each of those state affiliates all get together from across the country and we go on Capitol Hill for the day. And it is truly amazing because it's just a massive amount. We're visiting all of the state legislators and sharing our message. There's a lot of social media that's related to that, that kind of is promotional and helps us get that message across. But it's not enough.
It's not
And
enough. It's
so
one day.
yes, one
We
day.
we got to
And
make this 180 days,
absolutely,
April. We got to
we
do
do.
this.
We do. It's really important that administrators recognize that at any point, invite your legislators and senators to visit the school. A lot of them haven't been in a school since they were in school,
Yeah.
and it's different.
Yeah.
April, we've talked with John King Jr., we've talked with Arnie Duncan about that national voice to promote public education. We have April Knight doing that great work. Who else do you see as being like a prominent mouthpiece speaking up for public education?
um, that's a difficult question. I was very fortunate that Secretary of Education Miguel Cardona came to
Mm.
visit my school, and it was April of 23. And we had a very good conversation about how do we get this message across? How do we make sure that people appreciate what we're doing? You know, Nathaniel, you mentioned it. This is the profession that allows all other professions to
Absolutely.
be. And without promoting it, without supporting it, without guiding it, it's not going to last. And so I was just absolutely blown away by Secretary Cardona, and he truly was somebody who valued children, valued education, and still to this day, though he's not in that position, he is still promoting public education.
Yeah. I got to say this. Our votes matter so much. And look, I know no one wants to get political. I don't care. Whatever. We're going to get political. I'm going to get political. We can edit this out later on the cutting room floor. But we don't advocate for our profession enough. Like it's like I don't care if you're Republican or Democrat or whatever in the side. Like if you're going to be know the platform, the policy, the educational policy of that candidate. And are they going to support schools? Are they going to support you as a teacher? Are they really supporting kids? And if they're not, don't vote for them. Don't
Right,
advocate for it. Don't vote against your own best interests in this
right.
profession. And so like I understand and I can appreciate and I can applaud the Capitol Hill visit. But I know, like they're just like this is just one day, like,
Yeah.
and then like I got to go and like whoever's giving me the lobby with the money is who I'm going to listen to. Like,
Mhm.
I mean, I get it. I mean, I'm just saying, right, April? So
Yeah.
what else can we do? What else can we do? I mean, I tell you what, this show is gonna make a difference. I tell you that much, Worcester. This show is gonna make a difference. But what else, April? What else can we do? If I'm a teacher right now, what can I do? If I'm a principal right now, what can I do to help this profession?
I think you have to be modeling the expectations that we have for success in the schools. And when we have, you know, teachers unions and other associations that maybe are not wholly focused on what's best for kids
Mm,
and what's right for our staffs that we're working with, it kind of deflates everything. And so we need to make sure that we are pushing that positive agenda and recognizing what's going well. So I know, there are a lot of different educators that have their own personal social media accounts, and that's fine. But the ones that, strike me are the ones that are plugging that positivity and encouragement and saying, look what my kids are doing. They can do it. It doesn't matter where they come from. It doesn't matter who they're with. They're going to succeed. And as long as we can continue to promote that and we do it on a grand scale,
yeah,
then I think we can get someplace.
yeah. What are your
April,
thoughts? What are your thoughts, Dr. Worcester?
I want to ask you another question
Hmm.
on this topic. When was the last time you heard a national news story praising a public educator, saying something positive that they did, something that they accomplished that was positive? Can you think of one offhand in the last 6 months, last year?
National?
Yes.
Hmm.
Can you think of, I'll take that long pause as it's tough, right? Can you think
Yep.
of a national news story denigrating a public educator recently? I think I can in the last 24 hours, right?
Yeah.
But it's tough
I
when
mean,
those
it,
negative stories tend to be the ones that stick.
sure.
If
Mhm.
if I heard 10, 20, 30 good things about Nathaniel as a principal, and I hear one thing that's critical, that one thing is going to stick out.
I was
And
a micromanager.
thank you. I think those are the things that unfortunately sell.
Yeah,
And so those negative people just latch onto those negative stories.
they,
And
I would
I would
agree.
love to say that we just in education need to stop giving those negative stories to the world.
Mhm.
But yeah, social media does make things challenging. People have
It's the oldest media trick in the book. If it bleeds, it leads,
correct.
right? If it bleeds, it leads. I mean, watch what's that one, like, where it's like a 30-minute show with like David Muir or whatever. Like you watch it and you feel like, "Oh my God, it's the end of the world." Every night it's the end of the world, and then the last 30 seconds is, "Oh, now we're going to tell you about this chihuahua that found a cat in the sewer." And this is like, "Oh, it's so good." They
Mhm.
save all those stories to the end. It's if it bleeds, it leads. You know, I but if we don't tell our story, no one will. And I
Right.
But there's
think
also a perception, I think. Like there's a baseline perception of educators that isn't great. I think if I've heard a negative story about a doctor, I think of that doctor, or about a lawyer, I think of that lawyer. I think people have that reinforcing perception when they hear something negative about an educator. It's that's the educators again, that's teachers
Yes.
again, that's principals again.
mhm.
So it's just we need to change that baseline perception. So when you do hear
Mhm.
those stories, they're viewed as outliers,
Mhm.
not as the fact, right? The exception, not the fact.
So one of the things that I greatly appreciate about my district in Columbus City Schools is that we have a remarkable communications team, and their sole purpose is to be putting out there in the spotlight positive things that are happening in our schools. And that could be that my school is actually adopted by the Columbus Blue Jackets, a professional hockey team here in Columbus. And so at the beginning of the school year, our first day of school, they are out there, they're cheering, they're welcoming the kids. And that is a highlight that goes out throughout Columbus. But there's just not enough of that being shared.
Mhm.
And it truly, Nathaniel, what you said, those negative stories are the ones that people are sadly wanting to hear. And
Yeah.
then they, just like you said, they generalize. And so,
Yeah.
yes,
But there
one
are
bad
so many.
apple ruins it for everybody.
Yes,
Mm.
ruins the whole bushel.
Mhm.
But there are so many great things happening in our schools every day. We are changing worlds constantly. But yeah, it's unfortunate those great things don't always see the broad audience they should.
Mhm.
So here's a story, or not a story, a question that kind of goes back to another one of the advocacy agendas you mentioned about hiring issues. And once again, if the public perception is negative, why do I want, if I'm looking for a job, why do I want to work in something that's perceived as negative? So like it's a cycle, right?
Right.
But I gotta say, like, and it may not be a popular conversation when we talk about compensation. And I think
Mhm.
we need to start talking more about compensation for our
Right.
teachers.
Mhm.
Now, I don't know where I heard this from. And April, you're on the cutting edge of, of a lot of conversations, especially at the Hill. But like
Mhm.
we might not be able to pay educators more, but like let's start looking at some tax incentives. I mean, can we just like stop having educators pay state taxes? Like just stop. Like if like Ohio really supports teachers, right? Then we can't, offer them six figures, but we can say at a minimum, no state taxes for bus drivers, for custodians. You work in public schools, you work in schools, no state taxes. What is that a crazy, horrible idea?
I don't think so. We truly have to think outside of the box. And, we really want people to serve our students. And we have to find a way that's going to enable them to do that and still provide for their family.
Hmm.
And it is challenging and it is costly and it is frustrating that this being the profession that,
Hmm.
starts them all are not compensated for it. And there are challenges with that when we start talking about the variation sizes of districts and their budgets and
Sure.
what are starting salaries for teachers at the varying districts across the country. I wish there was a way that could just be flat. Everybody's getting what everybody should get. And sadly, it's not. But I think you might be onto something.
Well, I don't know. I think Dr. Worcester, what are we going to do? We can't offer everyone $1 million, but like, there's got to be something out there. Worcester, you're a very thoughtful guy about legislation and stuff like that. What do you think? No state taxes for educators. What do you think?
I was just saying what we really need is something that will elevate the prestige of this occupation. I
Mhm.
don't know what that thing is, but that to me is where we're falling flat. Is
Hey,
in a lot of other countries, including one we visited, Nathaniel, we visited China. When I
yep.
was working overseas in Slovakia, you see it a lot overseas, just a reverence culturally for
Right.
educators. I don't know how we get that. We need more Mr. Holland's opuses coming
Mhm.
out. We need more of those inspirational movies. We need more
I
dead
disagree.
poets.
Mr. Holland's Opus was a horrible movie.
Actually, it's
Horrible.
great. It
I
is it
ha-
is great. You have no heart. If you don't like that movie, you have no heart.
he
We
fell
need
in love with with a student. No.
we I
Done.
didn't okay,
And
I'm not encouraging that part of it. But I am encouraging us to have just more stories that we put out about how great it is to be an educator. And that's what I think these other countries, they're not necessarily paying them a tremendous amount. And I'm not against teacher pay. I think teachers get paid a lot more. But there's more to it than that. There is just
Mhm.
culturally, how do we improve the cachet that teachers have in our culture?
yeah,
And
it's
have
a
things
it's a
like that.
start. April, you travel a lot, right? You fly a bit, right?
I'm starting that, yes.
So you ever notice like all the people that get called for preferential seating on an airplane? You ever notice that like when you fly, you
Yes.
know? Yeah, and it's just like okay, military, and it's like thank you for your service, and
Mhm.
then there's like families, all this stuff. You never hear, all right, our teachers, like our nation's teachers, go line up. Let's give them a round
Mhm.
of applause. I'm like, we're you're because of us, like you're first class because you had a teacher. Like that's
Yeah.
like you need to have our, it's little things like that going back to the reference, like all right, let's stand up and applaud at a sports game for all of our national teachers. Let's do that. And that doesn't cost a thing. It just costs a little bit of outside the box thinking. So I don't know. You got to bring me to the Capitol Hill with you, April. I gotta stir some stuff up, man. I
You
don't.
are welcome to join us, that's
I,
for sure.
but I haven't paid dues since I quit, so I don't know.
Oh,
I don't know if I'm still allowed.
so
Well,
you're
we
kind. You're
need
kind.
we need to work on that then.
All right, we'll figure it out. I can pay some dues. I'll do a lump sum, and then you can take me to
There
the
we go.
Capitol
Get
Hill.
back in the good graces. April, what great things are you seeing going on across country that principals are doing to lead success?
Um, well, right now, I think one of the things is that people are really finding some unique and creative ways to help improve student attendance.
Hmm.
That is a really sad situation we're in, where the kids are missing more than 10% of the school year,
Hmm.
and sometimes the reasoning doesn't make sense. Sometimes, we've got young kids that are caring for younger siblings and things like that while a parent's trying to work. But there are a lot of different administrators and schools and school communities that are working to find these creative ways that are incentivizing attendance, rewarding the students for attendance. The kids love to have things like a dance. And
Hmm.
if you can attend the dance because you got perfect attendance for 3 weeks in a row, that's a quick buy. And so those are things that have really, I think, taken off and are going to really help us get where we need to go. I know in Ohio school, its attendance is a real challenge.
Yeah. I love that outside the box kind of conversation. I will add to this, and Eric, I'm curious what you think about this too. Um, I don't think I think it's important to reward the students for coming to the school, but I think we got to start rewarding our parents and families for getting them up and driving them to school. And so we have an attend dance for kids, right? That's great. But like we need to like start praising. I mean, because hell, what do we got to lose, right? Start
Yeah,
praising and celebrating when
absolutely.
parents have that attendance. Call the employers, call
Mhm.
their job sites. We know where our families work. Say, hey, listen, Mom and Dad Jones, like you've been bringing your kids. We're going to give you a plaque to put on your refrigerator, or like, hey, we're calling your employer at the factory. Great
Yeah,
job doing those things. Like we got to like really think outside the box,
absolutely.
right?
Absolutely. I know right after COVID, it was very challenging getting the kids back full time and being engaged, and that was a challenge that the families were dealing with as well. So we had some adopters that every Friday donated pizzas, and families, we would be passing out pizzas at dismissal time. They would take home the pizzas, and the families were just so excited for something
Yeah.
that recognized them, and as simple as that was, but it really kind of stirred things up, and then led to some real changes, especially for some of the families that were having the most difficulty.
Yeah.
So
I love it. I
yeah,
love it.
thinking outside the box, absolutely.
I love it. What do you think, Worcester? How do we solve this attendance issue?
Great question. And I like your idea. Anything you can do to positively promote your school with families, I think is great. So I will always love that idea. It has been such a shift from 4 or 5 years ago, where it was if you've got the sniffles, stay out for a week,
Mm-hmm.
and you need to
Mm-hmm.
be out for whatever you have. You're not in school for a long time, right? A week, 2 weeks, and now it's like everybody in school every day. So I understand why some of the messaging has just been so divergent in the last 5 years. Obviously, it is critically important. If kids aren't in school, they can't learn. It's a dumb thing to say, but obviously, it's very true. And that's why getting more kids in schools for more days is really important.
Yep.
Nathaniel, I don't have a great answer, but yeah, doing the positive promotion, making kids and teachers and families want to be there in the school, making learning engaging and rigorous and exciting will help. But yeah, it's a
It's
conversation shift.
And that all comes from building that positive school culture and climate. that sense of belonging. If the kids and the families don't feel welcomed, then they have no interest in coming to school. And so it's really important that from the get-go that culture and climate is established, and the schools have their mission and they're working towards that with the support of the families, and there's buy-in by the staff. It all kind of goes hand in hand.
So
Yeah.
April, how do principals do that effectively? How do they build a strong culture? And how do they do that like authentically?
It starts with relationships. You have to be willing to build those relationships with staff and students and families and continue to cultivate those relationships. Parents need to know that you are trustworthy, that you care about their kid, and that you are going to be there to support them. Um, it, we have lots of families that have some serious challenges with room and board, and with having food on the table. And so one of the things at my school was that we worked really hard to make sure that our families knew if they had a need for something, they could come to us. We're going to find a way to help them with that. And that then created this sense that we did care. We were there for the families and for the kids, and so it just kind of continues to grow. But it starts with relationships, and I think you would be very hard pressed to find some administrators that are not in this because of they can't make those relationships. They're here for that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. As one of my last questions goes to, actually, it's about the importance of instructional leadership.
mhm.
And I want to dig into this as our time kind of comes to a close. I think that yes, there's so much on a principal's plate. I remember, like, as a principal, I wanted to double down on do what I could to advocate for the community, but also build agency. With
Mhm.
with our parents and families, because they weren't always going to be with us. They were going to go to other schools and other places, and
Right.
I wanted them to be
Mhm.
better because of their time with us. But even though it was advocacy was important, agency was important, academics was like really, really important. And
Absolutely.
and I will say that I work in schools across America. I'm very, very blessed to be able to have that. And it is so refreshing when you meet a principal that is a true instructional leader, and is devoting time to be in those collaborative meetings. It understands that data is more than just where kids are, that there's a story behind those numbers, and that the instruction was part of the reason why that data is what it is. Being able to double down on essential standards and help support their teams with resources and remove those obstacles. Like when you see an instructional leader, you're like, damn, that's awesome.
Yes.
But I don't see it. It's not
It's
pervasive.
it's hard. It really is. And I think it's an overwhelming job. And I know that there's so many that really want to be in that
Mm,
spot as an instructional leader. Um, but maybe they don't have the support at the district level,
yeah.
and or that they're dealing with things like discipline. That goes back to the relationships and the culture and climate. But when you find those administrators who are those instructional leaders who are doing it all just like you did, that's how you got named at National Distinguished Principal.
Yeah.
And
Well,
that's why
I
we
had a good
recognize them.
person to write the recommendation for me. So, and Dr. Worcester. But you know what's interesting,
Well,
April, and is that those great instructional leaders tend not to have as many discipline problems.
That's true.
It's very interesting, right? When you see a top school, they take whoever they get, and they're focused
Mhm.
on, and we had a guest on yesterday we were talking about innovation. And I think some of the most innovative schools are the ones that are doing the least innovation, keeping it simple,
Yeah.
right? Like,
Yeah.
can we just keep it simple? And if we can double down in simplicity, then some of that behavior issue will start to take care of itself because everyone's on the same page. It's hard to be
Right.
on the same page when you're giving people 15 books. And when
Yes.
we're dealing with all these things, teachers don't know whether they're coming or going. The principal
Mhm.
doesn't know what to support. And then you're
Mhm.
going to have chaos there's chaos that comes with complexity, and there's strategic alignment that comes with simplicity. So sometimes I think we just need to get down to just the basics. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Right. And along with that, I think we need to recognize more along the lines of what type of growth our students are able to demonstrate, that it doesn't have to be that they're achieving at a certain level. If they are showing growth, then something's going well.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's something that doesn't get recognized. And
Mhm.
I think that that's a perception that also complicates things when the public has this idea that a school is good if all of their students are achieving at this level, but not recognizing that school that is bringing all of the kids, the students with IEPs, the
Yeah.
504 plan, their ELL learnings, when they're making that growth, if they were working most likely even harder
Yeah.
than a lot of the other schools.
Yeah,
So I'm gonna
I can have accountability without a grading system. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? I can still have high standards and
Yes.
high accountability without giving my school a D or an F or whatever that BS is.
I
Go
want
ahead,
to
Doc.
I want to commend Nathaniel for a second.
Oh,
Because April, he had those challenges as a principal that you just mentioned, but
Mhm.
his kids still succeeded tremendously academically, which is why he certainly deserved that award behind him, because he did have significant obstacles, and those kids learned and achieved at very high levels.
That's fabulous.
April, were there any mentors or books that were formative for you that you would recommend for our audience?
Well, I'll tell you, and this is not a plug, but the Principal Magazine is the communications publication that NAESP puts out, and it's fabulous. It is so well done, and it's truly on topic. It goes out like 4 times a year. Just recently, September, October, it was focused on student belonging from the beginning, student belonging. And they've done, articles over the past year with navigating the leadership shifts that are
mm,
going on, a portrait of a digital learner. So it's always a very quick, easy read, and always has opportunity for colleagues across the country to share their best practices. So that's something that
that's awesome.
really, it's not this big published book, but
Yeah.
it's something that always has been that quick and easy read that allowed me to reflect and get some great ideas.
How can
April,
people get
lastly,
that? How can people get that magazine? Can I get it even though, you may not be a member? Can you get a hold of it?
Um, you do need to be a member, and but we do have digital copies of it, not just on the hard copies, but it's definitely well worth it. And there are many, many other different publications that NAESP has, but it's definitely something that has kind of helped me move in my journey in this career. So I appreciated it.
That's awesome.
April, where can people learn more about NAESP or connect with you?
Well, very simply, naesp.org. And that website has everything on it. It has our different programs, it has membership benefits, like the legal benefits that you get, and discount benefits that you can get with our membership. And it's really, there's so much there to look at and to glean from. But one of the things that's really important is that everybody on the staff is very accessible.
Mm.
And so I'd be more than happy to talk to anybody, communicate with anybody. And my email address is aknight@naesp.org, AKNIGHT. And I'm more than happy to maybe put somebody in touch with the right person, and just get the message out there. NAESP is a remarkable association, and we're doing good work, and we want that message to get out.
So April, last message for you to get out. What words of inspiration do you have for our elementary school and middle school leaders out there?
Be yourself and make sure what you do is what's best for kids. If you do that, you're going to have success. Your school's going to have success. But I would also add, please invest in your own professional learning, because we spend so much time worried about our students and our teachers and our paras and things like that, that sometimes we don't stop to think about what we need. And I would highly encourage everybody to check out the NAESP website, because the professional learning opportunities are remarkable. And we definitely want everyone to have that opportunity to grow themselves.
Where's the next conference? Where's the next national conference?
Next conference, July of 2026 at Disney's Coronado Springs Resort in Orlando.
That's awesome. And if you need a speaker, I'm your guy. So if you need a breakout,
all right.
Gotcha. I got you.
All right,
April Knight, thank you for joining on the Community Connection. It's so great to connect with you again. And you know, I'm listening to all these great conversations that we had. I think we've solved a lot of the world's problems today. I think we've done pretty well with that. And like, I just want to like bring some closure, because you know, all the lessons, you got to have closure if you're going to have a good lesson, right? You know, that's what they say. But I got 3 A words that come to mind about you, April. Number 1, thank you so much for your advocacy for the profession that makes all profession possible. And thank you so much for your advocacy for our school leaders. Thank you for being available. Thank you for being so available to our school leaders and sharing that message. And then finally, thank you for just being your authentic self. And I think that's really something that really comes to mind. So thank you very much for joining us, April.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much. And we're going to work to get you up on the hill.
Let's do it. All right. Go Blue Jackets.